Hello YouTube, and welcome to the first part of two videos on the Dunmer Queen Berenzia. This video is a little bit different than regular lore videos. First of all, this is a part of a collaboration with Lady of Scrolls, where on each of our channels we post one vision on the Queen Berenzia, taken from two varying visions provided in the book series on her. The first, Biography of Berenzia, and the second, The Real Berenzia. Books that you probably saw lying around the Elder Scrolls games every now and then, and just never really picked up, or you did, and you might already know what we're gonna say. In this first part we analyze the biography of Berenzia, which is more or less the official vision on Berenzia as presented by the Imperial government. And over on Lady of Scrolls' channel we will be presenting the vision as presented by the book series The Real Berenzia, which is a less propaganda intended vision, because over the course of this video you will discover that the biography is very biased. With that said, I think I rambled enough, so let's get started with the video. So as I iterated before, we will solely focus on the vision that the Imperial government wants you to have on Queen Berenzia in this video, as it is presented in the biography series. Over on Lady of Scrolls' channel we will be showing the other side of the coin, and in the end we hope that you will have a more complete picture of who Queen Berenzia was and who the Imperial government wants you to think she was.
Back in the Second Era, the royal couple reigning over Morrowind gave birth to a Dunmer girl, whom they called Princess Berenzia. She lived her life in luxury for the first 5 years of her life, until the great Emperor Tiber Septim forced Morrowind to bow to the rule of the Empire. The city of Mournhold was severely damaged during the battle, and among the rubble of the city, little Princess Berenzia and her nurse were discovered by Imperial troops. The Dark Elf general presiding over the Imperial army, General Symmachus, talked to the Emperor, and together decided to send the child to an Imperial loyalist in Darkmoor, named Count Sven Advinson, so she would get an imperial upbringing, which would get her on the side of the Empire, since the little princess might be of value later to strengthen imperial rule over Morrowind.
Count Sven and his wife were very kind to the little princess, and according to the official biography treated her as their own daughter, treating her equal to their very own sons. They taught her the imperial values of obedience, discretion, loyalty and piety, and made her ready to take up her place among the ruling classes of Morrowind in favor of the Empire. Over the years she became a sweet and intelligent young Dunmer girl, who was always good to her adoptive parents and who was always very good. She loved nature and would often wander for hours in the woods.
However, the joy was not to last, as when she turned 16, a wicked young stable boy, a mere peasant, attempted to corrupt her. She had met the young boy who didn't have any friends earlier, and had befriended him out of pity. However, the young boy used her good heart and trusting nature to convince her that her adoptive parents wanted to sell her. Since the young Berenzia was brought up in a trustworthy environment, it did not occur to her that this was most likely a lie, and followed the wicked stable boy's suggestion when he told her to run away with him, as said that he could protect her.
Together they fled to Whiterun, where they managed to get poor jobs as guards of a merchant caravan who would broker them passage to Riften, where they would be safe, according to the wicked stable boy. Of course, this entire plan was a conspiracy by this wicked little stable boy, who selfishly loved Berenzia and used his lies and Berenzia's good trusting nature to gain possession of her this way, a plan which would in the end only bring Berenzia more hardship.
In the city, they barely made enough to stay alive, and the wicked stable boy made it so that they had to associate themselves with a Khajiit thief named Theris, who wanted them to spy on the local imperial garrison for a wealthy treacherous contact of his. Berenzia was torn between her loyalty to the Empire and her love for her friends, but in the end her loyalty prevailed as she approached the local commander, General Symmachus, and revealed her identity and told him of the plan. General Symmachus, who was actually in town by orders of Tiber Septim to search for her, praised her courage and took her into his care. He told her that her adoptive parents did not want to sell her. Rather, they wanted her to be reinstated as Queen of Mournhold by the grace of the great Emperor when she would turn 18.
The Emperor then decided in his endless wisdom that Berenzia would not return to her adoptive parents, but rather live with him and his family in the Imperial city, so that she could get some experience in government by attending the court. Tiber Septim treated her as an adoptive daughter, and the future Emperor Pelagius Septim would also come to love her as a sister in those happy years. When she turned 18, almost the entire city came to say farewell to the beloved Dunmer princess, who would return to Mournhold with the great general Symmachus to take up her role as ruler and strengthen the empire in Morrowind.
She ruled Morrowind together with the wise advice of General Symmachus, and the two ended up marrying. Their marriage was a great event of much celebration, and they were wed by none other than the Emperor himself. After several hundred years of marriage, Baranziah became pregnant, and a son was born to her and General Symmachus. They would name their son Helseth, and only 8 years after his birth, another child, this time a daughter, was born, whom they called Morgaya, after Symmachus's mother. All were happy and everything seemed well, until one day relations with the Empire turned bad. After much negotiation, the relationship failed to be restored. Baranziah then traveled to the Imperial City herself to see if she could repair relations in a private audience with Emperor Uriel Septim VII.
During her audience, however, Baranziah discovered through magical means that this so-called Emperor was nothing but an impostor. She managed to keep her discovery a secret to the impostor, and in an attempt to find out what happened to the real Emperor. Unfortunately, during her time in the Imperial City, news arrived that her beloved husband Symmachus, who had stayed in Mournhold, had fallen in battle during an uprising by the peasant rebels in Morrowind. And Baranziah wept in desperation as she had no one left to turn to or help her. Her city was lost to rebels, her husband was killed, and her emperor was missing and replaced by an impostor.
She eventually found an ally in the King of High Rock, King Eadweir, who had both been a friend of Uriel Septim VII and a friend of her late husband. He told her that the Emperor was indeed an impostor, as she suspected, and none other than the treacherous battle mage Yegar Tharn.
Eadweir had learned this after the former assistant of Tharn had appeared to him in ghost form after her execution. She had told him of how her former master had imprisoned the true Emperor in an alternate dimension and had her executed after she threatened to inform the Elder Council of this. The assistant's ghost then informed the two of a champion in the Imperial dungeons who could help them unmask the Emperor impostor. Baranziah and Eadweir then helped free the champion from the Elder Scrolls arena from the Imperial dungeon and assisted him in finding the 8 pieces of the Staff of Chaos by spying on the false Emperor and relaying the information to the ghost of Tharn's late assistant, who guided the champion along the way.
When they were discovered, Eadweir and Baranziah fled back to Wayrest, the home of Eadweir. However, they had done their job, as the champion was able to unite the pieces of the Staff of Chaos and destroy the nefarious impostor Yegar Tharn, and return the rightful Emperor to his office. Once the rightful Emperor, Uriel Septim VII, was restored, he had a grand memorial service held for Symmachus in the Imperial City after his unfortunate death. After all this, Baranziah and her 2 children moved to Wayrest to live with Eadweir, whom she shortly married, living in Wayrest for a short but happy time until her human husband would find death.
This is where the official biography ends. If you wish to know how the story of Baranziah continues and the parts that the Imperials changed for propaganda purposes, consider watching the uncensored version on Baranziah that we made over on Lady of Scrolls' channel. You might find the link in the description.
Alright, with that behind us, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider checking out the counterpart video on my channel, or if you already saw that, consider watching one of our other lore videos.
Before we end this video, allow me to vocally thank my top patrons Bernardo Binda, Hayden Barnes, Gabriel Binda and Sam Kempling. They, according with the other patrons on screen, are truly awesome people.
That said, we will see you in the next part, or in some other undisclosed future.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.